not sure how to take that. Just for that. Well, it's good to see you all here in the new year. May it be a good year, a better year in so many ways. I don't know about you, but I was very touched by the reflections given today. The beautiful music being played. And sung. So, what do I have to say? Well, this is what I have to say. How important it is that we get to grow and learn more about ourselves and our world and not stay stuck in a box. Now, I don't dispute that for many people, having a set way of thinking about the world in their various religious traditions or philosophies or what have you aren't valid ways of living in the world. I'm not saying that. We don't know. We don't know a lot of things. One of the things about our particular tradition, however, is that we value the fact that whatever our age, be we youth, midlife, whatever that might mean, because that can be any age, midlife, or older, we do our best to support one another, to be open to our own experience, our own growth and understanding of the great issues of our lives, the meaning of life, in the many ways one might ask questions about life. Not just our own lives, but life itself. What is life? What is death? What is this God stuff? What is religion anyway? What is spirituality? We are here in part to live out our principles, and one of which is to support one another and finding our own truths with the understanding that over time, our experiences and our understanding, the knowledge that we gain, the life, hurts and joys, everything contributes to the possibility of shifting how we understand the world. When I was a hospice chaplain and as a hospital resident chaplain in Georgetown University Hospital back east, I was there for a year as a resident. I had occasion to visit people of different faiths in the hospital, occasionally a Unitarian, and often people who had been brought up in one tradition or another, or no tradition, who had questions, people who were facing serious illness, major surgeries, family dilemmas mixed in, people whose children were there on the children's transplant ward. What does this mean? What's it all about? People who were flown in for trauma surgery, broken up physically, emotionally, spiritually, and their family members. What can we hope for? What's the meaning of this? How could God, the world, the universe, how could this happen? There are a couple of people in particular that I remember, one of whom was a Unitarian Universalist who faced major surgery, a person with cancer, a man who was a Unitarian in a fellowship, far from the hospital. And what he said to me, he mostly said in tears. But he gave me this. He said, with my fellowship, and he was a committed member who did a lot of things in the fellowship, I don't feel safe to talk about my deepest feelings and thoughts and questions about the nature of life, what this illness means, my fears, my concerns. I don't feel safe there. And I have lots of friends there. But I feel judged for having the questions. It's not okay. And he had been brought up loosely in a Christian tradition. But here he was facing a critical point, and he didn't feel safe with his own congregation. And I know you know that that's not a good thing. It's not okay. We can have our own feelings about other people, and frankly, we do have judgments. I know we do. But do we have a right to speak them to one another in a way that is demeaning to somebody else's beliefs? We don't. And yet I know we're human, we make mistakes. And I've heard some of those mistakes, and I've made some myself right here. Saying things in a way that are disrespectful to somebody else's beliefs, dismissive of them, not hearing with compassion. The truth is, look around the room, we're all dying. So if you think of it in those terms, perhaps, it might help you to see that here's this person who's sharing something about their beliefs. Am I here to tell them that's wrong? Or to mock them? No. I'm here to help that person just be companioned, to accompany them in a difficult moment. So here was this man who was a committed member of his fellowship who didn't feel safe, and I'm grateful that I got called to see him, because you never know who's going to go see whom. His wife actually had asked for a Unitarian, and I was the only one of the staff. I was the only in several categories, but that's another sermon. Because we had some time, not a lot, for me just to be there to listen to his questions and to support him in his search. And another fellow that I came upon who was into computers, had his little laptop, waiting for surgery, doing his thing. And we talked a little bit about if he had beliefs or a tradition or what have you. And he said, not really, but he's kind of curious about some stuff. Anyway, since he was into computers, how many of you know about BeliefNet? Raise your paw. Okay, BeliefNet is an online, it's gotten kind of fancy looking since they first started. It looks kind of, technicolor on the screen, but it has a lot of different sections on it, one of which is Beliefomatic. Beliefomatic. So if you're into that sort of thing, check it out. And there's like 20 questions about different beliefs. And what they do is, if you give them your email address, they will send you back a list of where you agree with different traditions. So, for example, I've done this a number of times. I usually do it twice, though, each time. First, I do it completely, the 20 questions, and I come out Unitarian Universalist first, but the second and third sometimes are a little dynamic, squishy, yes. So you do that, and they'll say, okay, 100% Unitarian Universalist, 96% Mahayana Buddhist, 93%, liberal Christian, whatever it is. Apparently I have, it's sort of like, what is that, Ancestry.com, it's sort of like, in any event. I do it twice for this reason, because several of the questions on this Beliefomatic have specifically to do with justice issues. And just for me, I'm curious if justice didn't go hand in hand with who I am and our faith, because that's what our faith is about, in part, living in a world that we help make more just is part of who we are. So I kind of leave some of those things out. Things about abortion, gay rights, there are a few. And see what comes up then. Because Unitarian won't be at the top of the list if I haven't said, yay on those. It's just a curiosity for me to do it a second time, but I encourage you to do that. And the last thing I want to say, because I ripped up my words and it's getting late, is that in March, I'm going to offer a 1.5-hour workshop, What Do I Believe? Where, we do encourage one another always to be considering our stance in the world. This particularly asks the participants to look at a variety of issues: race, ethnicity, God, spirituality, religion, etc. But it's just an introduction for an hour and a half where we explore a couple of those issues, depending on the will of the people, to look at what were the messages we grew up with, what have we accepted or discarded, and how do we respond to somebody who says or acts in a way that's different from what we believe. How do we respond to difference of belief? And so I want to invite you to consider signing up for that workshop. It'll be in March, the third Sunday. And what has happened in the past in different congregations is when I've offered that, I've done it a number of times now, often what will happen is a smaller subset of people from the group will decide to keep meeting, because we don't cover everything in that time. And what I've done is, I'll meet with people 1 or 2 more times, make sure they have the structure down in a way that feels safe and comfortable, and then they can go on however long they agree to go on for. So I want to put a plug in for that, March 17th. You have to sign up ahead of time, register ahead of time. And those of you who would like to take the time to consider some of these issues, you are welcome there. That's all I got.
.47